What's up everyone, I'm James Young with jamesyoungphotography.com and this is Teach Me How to Lightroom. Today we're taking a look at this cosplay portrait. We're giving it a desaturated high contrast look. We're taking it from here, bam, to here. Now don't forget there's a link in the description to the raw file down below so that you can download it and follow along. Maybe you think the edit should go in a totally different direction. I'd love to see what you got. And if you like this edit, don't forget to like this video. And without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to do is add some warmth to the image. I know that this is going to be a little bit cold for our final edit, so we want to go up to about 7200 Kelvin there. Perfect. Then I want to give it a small touch of exposure, about only 0.1. There we go. Now I mentioned we're going high contrast in this, so that's exactly where we got to start, is in the tone curve to start off the foundation for our contrast. So let's go here where it says point curve. From linear, let's change it to medium contrast. That gives us just a little bit of a foundation to start with. Then we go up back to the basic portion, and with the contrast slider, let's go to about plus 80. There we go. Now what we need to do, we need to bring our highlights down quite a bit. So let's do about minus 60 there. Perfect. And then we got to open up these shadows. When we increased all that contrast, we crushed all those blacks. We got to open those back up. So we're going about plus 60 on our shadows. There we go. We got that detail back. Now with the whites, we want to bring these down as well. Let's do about minus 35 there. Perfect. And with the blacks, we're gonna leave them where they are at. Now with clarity, it would be kind of cool to bump up the clarity quite a bit. However, this is a portrait, therefore we gotta focus on that skin first and foremost. So we're actually gonna bring this down just a little bit, about minus 15. Just cut some of the edges off of the skin, but we'll get back to clarity in a minute. With the vibrance and saturation, we got to cut this down. Increasing the contrast made these colors just go absolutely crazy. So in order to go high contrast and desaturated, we got to focus on our vibrance and saturation. So we're actually going to bring these down about minus 15 as well. We don't want to go down too far and make it look dull. We still want to give it a little bit of punch. So don't bring it down too far. Now, the last thing we need to do to introduce some contrast into the image, let's scroll all the way down to effect. And it looks like I already put the plus 15 on it. My bad. Here's what it looks like without. And with the added 15 on dehaze, it looks much better. Now, it's looking pretty good, but we really got to do some color grading here. We want to cut down some of the blues that are coming off, and we want to increase a little bit the yellows as well. So let's start off with the HSL, that stands for hue, saturation, and luminance. And we want to start with our saturation area here. Now right off the bat, I already know that the greens and the blues are coming in a little strong on this image. So we need to cut that down so that we can lean towards the mood that we want to achieve here. So let's start with the yellows. Let's go down about minus 20. With the greens, we're gonna go down about minus 45, 50 or so. Let's do 45. Then with our aquas, we're gonna cut these down as well, about minus 58. Now our blues are coming down to about minus 40 or so, 45. We'll leave it at 47. We'll bring our purples down, about minus 25. And magenta is about minus 10. Now you can see what I did here. I created a curve with the sliders here. The reason I did that is so that we don't have any extreme clipping going on, so that we don't have like a mock selective color. Don't do that. You can see an example of that here. If I zoom in and I cut the orange all the way out, ugh, that looks absolutely terrible. So don't do that. That's why we make things very, very soft and we introduce curves into the changes that we make with the saturation. So you can see that's made a substantial change. Let's turn it off and let's turn it back on. You can see that the black tones really register a lot of blue in camera when it reflects light and the diffraction takes place. and it picks up all kinds of chromatic aberration. So the way to compensate for that is to reduce your blues. So you turn it back off, you can see there's a lot of blue held in the information here. Turn it back on and you can see that there is a lot more black coming through her outfit. So a couple more things we want to do in this HSL area, and that's going to be in the luminance. And we want to tackle these greens and yellow tones just a little bit more. So let's go about -20 on our yellows and about -30 on our greens. There we go. Then with our orange, we want to come up just a little bit. That's where a lot of the skin tones are held, and we want to go about up +20. There we go. This is looking great. So here's without the color corrections that we've done, and there it is with them added. It looks so much better. So the last thing we want to do in the color grade is introduce a little bit more yellow into the highlights. The way we're going to do that is with split toning. Now check this out. We're going to take the hue slider and we're going to put it in the warm region here. That's about 60 on the slider, and we're only going to hit it with about 5. And it might seem like a real marginal thing to do. I mean, you can skip it if you really think it didn't make a difference, but here's it without, and here's it with it back on. I think it's warranted. Now from here, we can sharpen up our image. Lightroom starts us off with 25. I like to bump it up to about 70. I find that to be a good place for printing. Now you can create your preset from here. However, we can take this to the next level with some graduated filters and some radial filters. I'm gonna take the radial filter and I'll double click on the effect here, and let's do some changes here. With the highlights, I'm gonna bring it down to -100. And with the clarity, we're gonna bring it up to about +40 or so. And sharpness, we'll cut down the sharpness just a little bit, about -38. Now notice my feather is set to 100. That means it's gonna have a very, very soft gradiated effect. There's not gonna be a hard edge here. That is crucial when you do an effect like this. Now watch what we're gonna do here. We're gonna create a gradient around our subject here. There we go. And you can see it's really changed the way the background looks. Now, just so that we can make sure that it's not on our subject, right here where it says mask, normally it's on edit. Let's go ahead and click on brush. And with our brush options here, we're gonna go to erase, and let's just erase this effect off of our model skin. Doing this very quickly here. You're gonna wanna spend more time doing it when you do it on your own edits. And there we go. Just make sure we get it off of her. There we go. Now let's take a look. Let's turn that off and let's turn it back on. I'm gonna press H so that you can't see the actual editing pins and nodes. So let's turn it back off, turn it back on. Wow, it's made a huge change. So let's turn that off. That looks super cool. And I lied, we are not done with the edit. We didn't give it the matte finish that this thing needs. Let's go back to the tone curve and let's hit this with a matte finish. Now on the right hand side, we're gonna bring this node all the way to the right and bring it down just a little bit. We don't wanna do it too much, just a little bit, so that we can bring those highlights down just a little. Then on the left hand side, this is where it's gonna make the big difference. We're gonna double click on the node that's second from the left, and then we're gonna take the node that is all the way to the left and drag it up and to the right just a little bit. There we go. Fantastic. So let's take a look at what we did here. Let's turn our tone curve off and let's turn it back on. Bam, it just gives it that super moody look with that matte finish. It just crushes all the contrast into the midtones. It looks super, super cool. So there we have it. Now you can make your preset. Don't make your preset earlier. That preset would exclude the matte finish, which wouldn't really have the effect. And this one would. So let's take a look at where we started with the image. There we go. And let's take a look at where we brought it Bam, and we did that only in a few minutes, and now you can skip all that process by using a preset. Remember, that's just a foundational piece of your edit. It will need some tweaking per image. So if you like this edit and you like this video, it would be awesome if you gave it a thumbs up on YouTube. And if this is your first time checking out one of these tutorials, it would be awesome if you subscribe to the channel. Well, I'm James Young with JamesYoungPhotography.com, and this is Teach Me How to Lightroom.